This is unbelievable. I don't need to tell you that, no, do I? Where are they coming from?
Look at them all.
There's 10 of
sure
them here.
Quite safe.
No, I'm sure it probably isn't.
Let me get my wetsuit on.
These are really strange animals.
Quite bizarre.
It's creatures like these that serve as great reminders to us that the ocean really is an alien environment, and many of its inhabitants are every bit as strange, if not stranger, than science fiction.
But before we go deep, here in the Cayman Islands, we're going to start in shallow water. These rays are just one of the strange and, I think, unnerving creatures found in this area, pretty well the centre of the Caribbean. And to track down all these animals, we're going to have to use what we know of their feeding behaviour and their daily activity patterns.
And the reason we're here is because out there lies an unparalleled opportunity for an extremely close encounter, if we can stand it.
Sometimes I feel more like a Star Trekker than a sea trekker wearing this cap.
It's the craters, isn't it? Makes this place look more like the surface of the moon than the seabed.
It does.
Look, here they come. Looks like we're under attack here.
It does. Oh, gosh. Good grief.
There's a whole squadron of them.
What amazing animals. Whoa.
Must say, I'm glad I'm in a wetsuit.
I guess you are. They might be friendly forces, but no promises.
I'm being smothered in them.
It's really unique to get this close to any wild animal. But especially these guys. Stingrays are in the same group of animals as the sharks. You can imagine a shark that has been flattened out. That's really what these are. They have all the same characteristics. These animals are bottom dwellers. They come in the shallow, sandy areas like this each morning to start feeding. Amazing animal.
They are extraordinary to touch, aren't they? The underside is so smooth and silky. The back's just a little rougher. And you get these spines running along the top of their backs, which are actually quite sharp. And it's a very poisonous, about a 6-inch spike. And of course, stingrays are famed for their sting. Oh! Stingrays are flattened so that they can feed on animals buried in the sand. So clearly their mouths are underneath them. So they find their prey not so much by sight as by an electrical sense. They have very sensitive pits spread out all the way along the front of their underside that picks up electrical discharges from the prey buried in the sand. The other problem about lying on the sand is breathing. Really, they don't want a gillful of sand. So they have developed these enormous, great big spiracles, big holes just behind the eye. They suck in water, and it comes out under their tummies through the gills.
Well, I think it's safe to say that our Caribbean experience is starting out with a bang. I can't imagine a better encounter than these stingrays.
Early morning is always a good time to explore the reef. The fish are active, busy looking for food.
Well, this is a nice way to travel across the reef.
It's pretty cushy, isn't it?
We were told that the fish in the Caymans were friendly. I think we were told right.
Most reef fish feed during the day. Some, like the parrotfish, are herbivores. They graze on algae-covered rocks. Angelfish prefer to nibble at sponges, while other reef predators are carnivores.
Well, you found a friendly one.
Extraordinarily tame, isn't he? They seem like a pretty big fish to be handling. Groupers come in an incredible size, sofa size, but also they come this big, and all of them are predators. Some of them actively seek their prey, but ones like this are ambush predators. They love being tickled behind the gills, don't they?
I think it's probably only fair to say that this isn't an absolutely natural behavior. This area is frequented by divers, and groupers like this are often fed. So this attracts them and allows us to get this close. What a wonderful fish.
Never known a fish so friendly.
But there are fiercer predators, and some have quite a reputation.
Here on the shallow reef, a lot of animals detect their prey by smell, including moray eels. These are usually nocturnal predators and have very bad eyesight. There you go. Oh, she's slimy. But I'm not too happy about playing around with the moray for too long, so I think I'll leave it there.
Sea fans and soft corals do really well on Caribbean reefs. But wherever you are, it's fish that always catch the eye. The large angelfishes probably more than most. These decorative fish spend the daylight hours browsing over the reef. They eat sponges, which thrive here. In fact, sponges make up 90% of their diet.
If the angelfish are eating that much sponge, it's a good thing some of them grow to a size like this. Sponges are animals. This entire structure is a colony made up of 1 million little cells, each one having a different purpose, a different function. Some of them are designed to move water through the structure, filtering out particles, which others in turn digest. And yet others take this digested material and spread it around to the colony. As a matter of fact, this colony is so efficient that it filters, in any given day, 400 gallons of water. That's a small swimming pool.
As well as sponges, the caimans are famous for their dramatic submarine cliffs and the animals that cruise them.
Here you are.
Mike, you should have been here earlier. I've just seen some beautiful eagle rays.
I think I'll stay up here and leave you down there with your fans.
If you get your buoyancy just right, hovering along the drop-off is like floating in space, especially when there's such a vast drop into nothingness below. And it's a prime place to find gorgonians and sea fans. Gorgonians feed much like hard corals do, with polyps taking little bits of plankton from the water. And that's why it's absolutely vital to them that they lie at 90 degrees to the current or the prevailing water movement. At the moment, the current isn't running, so the polyps aren't out, and the gorgonian isn't feeding. But you can see the lattice work particularly well.
By the early afternoon, the shallow reef is fairly quiet, so I'm out over one of the Cayman's famous drop-offs. But to see what's down there means entering an entirely different realm, which I can't do wearing this equipment. The depth limitation of the helmet is about 100 feet. But Martha has overcome this limitation in a most enviable way.
Hi, Mike. Here I come. I guess this is the only way we're going to get to grips with the animals that live deep on those walls.
Well, nice of you to drop in. You certainly know how to make an appearance.
It's my style. I can't believe I'm in this thing.
I can't believe you're in there and I'm out here.
This is a deep water submersible, and we're going to take the trip of a lifetime down 900 feet to the bottom of the wall, where we hope to find some really weird deep water inhabitants. And I'm really excited about what we're going to find, so let's get going.
Wait a minute. Okay, you're out of here.
Grand Cayman is surrounded by a shallow shelf. It's about a quarter of a mile wide, and at its seaward edge, about 150 feet deep. And at that point, there's a sheer drop-off that plummets to an amazing 6,000 feet. So let's just turn the light off and enjoy this. Down here, at about 300 feet, there isn't enough light for reef building coral to survive. The water's now dominated by sponges that come in all shapes and sizes. This is a barrel sponge. There are trumpet sponges, rope sponges, and the colours are splendid. Reds, oranges, purple, violets, and so on. It's unbelievable down here. Here at 900 feet, the landscape is incredibly luminite. Everything's covered with a fine white dust. Cold marine snow is made up of dead plankton, little bits of detritus, and probably silt as well. These marine lilies sticking out from the rocks are animals, and they can move incredibly slowly along the rock. They orientate themselves against the current, so that their arms can pick up tiny bits of food floating by in the water. It really is like flying across the surface of the moon. What an amazing place.
Our next move was away from the reef and out to the open ocean. I wanted to try an experiment, and for that we went north to the Bahamas.
We know sharks occur here in the daytime, but I'm curious if they're here at night as well. But it's an unfamiliar area with unfamiliar animals, so I'm on the boat for this experiment. Beneath us, we have a remote camera trained on an underwater hydrophone that will be sending out pulses that hopefully will attract sharks. Sharks can hear from about 10 to 800 hertz, or cycles per second, but they're particularly attracted to very low-frequency sounds, similar to what might be given off by a fish in distress. So I'm going to tune this equipment to produce a combination of low-frequency pulses. And if all goes according to plan, when I turn on the hydrophone, sharks will come around.
These are silky sharks. They're oceanic. They're fast, streamlined, and have a dubious reputation. Silkies travel great distances feeding on fish. Their superb hearing helps them locate food from a long way off.
I feel kind of guilty about what we're doing here. We're calling them in and all they're finding is a hydrophone when they came in for an easy meal.
Well, speaking of easy meals, are you sure you're ready for this one?
Well,
Look at this.
Mike, they feel incredible.
They're gorgeous animals.
I can't believe you can touch sharks underwater like this.
I can't either.
We're here in the pelagic realm, home to these silky sharks, as well as all these jacks around us. But it's the sharks that are at the top of the food chain here, because once they're adults, they have very few predators, except for us, and of course themselves.
Some sharks, before they're born, actually start eating each other inside the mother's body. Reproduction in sharks is very confusing. They all have internal fertilization, but the similarities stop just about there. Some of them lay eggs. Most of them give live birth. Others lay eggs that hatch inside the female's body.
But once they're born, the juveniles still have a hard time. They're still very vulnerable to being eaten by other sharks. So, like most fish, juveniles have a very, very fast growth rate. At that point, they're still close to the reef as a reference point, almost a nursery. And only when they're truly adults do they come out into the blue water and become truly pelagic.
I can't believe we can do this. Completely open ocean. You can see in these silky sharks a very subtle adaptation they have to living in the pelagic environment. It's called counter shading, where the top of their bodies are slightly darker than underneath, which tend to be very light. So that if a potential predator would view this animal from the bottom, it sees the white underside, which blends into the surface. Views it from the top looking down, the dark surface blends into the deep blue ocean. So this is a subtle yet very effective means of camouflage.
As well as using camouflage, some fish actually hide themselves during the day, and caves are a likely place to find them. It's predators like these that small fish try to avoid. Tarpon rest during the day. They're primitive fish with unusual mirror-like scales. The underslung jaw gives them a menacing look. They're effective nighttime predators. As dusk falls, they'll move out onto the reef. When the light is fading, predators are at an advantage. Smaller fish must keep a low profile. The demand for food and space is so great that activity on the reef continues 24 hours a day. While one lot of animals are sleeping, others are feeding. Very few work both shifts.
This is something you don't see very often in the daytime. As a matter of fact, you don't see it all. This is plankton. Zooplankton, actually small animals. Some of them are actually adults. Others are juveniles and larvae of other animals on the reef that will grow up into lobsters, fish, whatever. And in any case, during the daytime, they live primarily in deep water, only coming up at night to feed themselves. Because if they came up here in the daytime, they would probably be eaten. There are fish on the reef in the daytime that are specialists at picking plankton.
I'm amazed to find so many sea urchins on the reef. One of the major changes that happens at night time is that all the herbivorous fishes go to sleep and all the carnivores come out. There's one herbivore that does come out, the long-spined sea urchin, Diadema. Like all other invertebrates, Diadema is vulnerable, so during the day stays hidden in small caves and crevices, and at night comes out and it walks up onto the reef to graze on the algae. It has an amazing way of moving along. It doesn't have any muscles. It has a very simple hydraulic system and uses tube feet to stick onto rocks and corals. Moves each tube foot along, rather like it is crawling across my hands now. I'm going to put this one down. Not too happy about being punctured by these things. There you go.
This is a classic night feeder coral. In this case, brain coral, because of the undulations all over the skeleton. Corals are animals, colonial animals, and at night they extend their palms, which collect plankton you can see zooming by. If they tried this in the daytime, it wouldn't work very well, because these little polyps are perfect food for a lot of the reef fish that are out feeding in the daytime.
Sea fans and gorgonians also collect food by exposing their polyps. They can feed at any time, but like the hard corals, it's safer for them to do so at night. While the corals feed, daytime fish sleep. Most tuck themselves away in a nook or cranny for safety. This parrotfish has only just settled down, but soon it'll be hidden within its own mucus cocoon.
About an hour before dawn, the reef changes over again. The nighttime animals start going to sleep. The daytime animals come out of their holes, and it all comes alive.
But the Caribbean had one more animal we both really wanted to swim with. We tend to think of dolphins as ocean wanderers, yet here in the Bahamas, a group of spotted dolphins live year-round on a vast, shallow sandbank.
Here they're coming down.
Yep. Try a circle. It's a little difficult in these, but if we don't give them some feedback, they carry on doing whatever they were doing before.
They're all around us.
Hi there.
You can see very clearly here. These are the adult ones with lots and lots of spots. White ones on the top and darker ones underneath. The younger adults have only a few spots. The infants, the very small ones, have no spots at all. They move so easily, don't they? Makes me feel so clumsy in all this gear.
I know what you mean. But think of what's going on here. These are mammals like ourselves. They have to breathe air. So their nostrils have migrated to the top of their heads, so they can just quickly go up, take a breath, exchange, 90% of their lung capacity, as opposed to what humans exchange with each breath, about 10%. They use a communication system initially that's very calm, just touch and sight. And it's only after they become excited that they resort to making sounds.
Amazing. That was lovely, wasn't
It
it?
was wonderful.
You can see two dolphins swimming very closely together and touching each other. And that's one of the most important ways of communicating. They have other ways too. One of them is echolocation, some of which we can hear as clicks, and some of which is ultrasonic and we can't hear. They also have whistles, 30 of them, including a name whistle, and they use body posturing, which changes the context of all the whistles and clicks they're giving out.
When we're sitting down here, you can hear. It's like a symphony of sound around you with these whistles and clicks. And the clicks are their echolocation, where they will actually produce a sound and send it out. It reflects off of an object, and then it returns, and similar to a submarine sonar, forms a kind of picture that gives them information on what is out in front of them.
Now you can see them going along the bottom. Now using echolocation to find prey. And what they feed on here on the sandbanks is a little flounder called an eyed flounder. and they go along the bottom. And actually their echolocation can be so strong that it's thought to be able to stun the prey, or at least confuse it. And they pick it up out of the sand and then snap it with their rostrum. It's lovely. When you see a dolphin swim by with a little bit of air coming out, it could be a signature whistle. And that is rather like we have names, and Mike is called Mike and I'm called Martha. Dolphins each have their own particular whistle. All the members of the group know that whistle and will use it to attract that dolphin's attention. The other great thing that this group of dolphins seem to use is babysitting its tail around the dorsal fin of the infant, and by that way guides it where she thinks they ought to go.
But the temptation to really swim with them was overwhelming, so we decided to rid ourselves of our bulky gear and enjoy the freedom of snorkels. We found that by swimming like dolphins, or at least attempting to, we could have closer and longer encounters.
The difference was enormous. The dolphins swam alongside us, mimicked and dived with us. These completely wild animals were choosing to spend time with us. It was a remarkable encounter, and one which we knew would be hard to beat.